What's up, guys? And today we get into these tattoo shading techniques. We're going to go over your whip shading, stipple shading, packing, scumble, dot, and pendulum shading. And this one's especially for your aspiring tattoo artists out there. So today we're going to break down the techniques that add depth and dimension to your designs, step by step. So grab your machines, get comfortable. Let's get started on this shading journey together. Disclaimer. As you grow in this industry, you learn everybody has their own style and technique on how they do things. This is, in my opinion, some of the best ways to get your desired results. So first, you want to make sure you get your voltage together. Me, I start anywhere between a 7 volt to a 7.5 volt. For some techniques, the slower the voltage, the smoother the shading. So let's make sure you got your needle hanging together. So that's pretty much how far the needle hangs outside of the tube. So I usually suggest maybe about 2 millimeters to start off with. But again, as you go and as you grow in this game, you'll definitely find what works for you. So let's get started with the whip shading. So as you see, as I start from the bottom, I use a scooping motion. So we call it like shoveling. So it means you're shoveling the ink in at the bottom part and then you're whipping it out at the top. So you're looking for a gradient here. So a whip, you're typically looking for a gradient. So we'll go from dark to light. As you'll see, I'm pushing the needle forward, kind of flicking it out so you can kind of get that dark to light transition. Alright, so that's pretty smooth. So you see the transition. So now we're going to swap these needles out and you're going to switch to a liner. Now we're about to get into stipple shading. Stipple shading is very similar to whip shading. You're still going from that dark to light transition. The only difference is you might slow your needle down a little bit. Some people do maybe 5, 6 volts. So the goal with this is to get that pepper look. So it look like it's a seamless transition from dark to light, but very spotted, if that makes sense. Again, same thought process where you're going in a little deeper at the bottom, but you're coming out a little lighter at the top so you can tell the gradient and transition in color. Okay, so now we're getting into packing. Packing is filling in a space with solid black or solid color. So with this, you want to make sure that your needle hang is a little bit closer to the tube, or again, whatever you end up being comfortable with. And you're going to go in and you're going to work small circles. Again, making sure you're shoveling that ink in there, but in small circles, small tight circles. Or if you get a bigger space, maybe you can widen up your circles a little bit. But you want to make sure that skin is saturated. Make sure that you're not going over that space too many times because you can damage the skin and you don't want it looking like hamburger meat. If the skin ever starts to bleed a little bit more than it needs to be, then just move on to the next space, and then when it swells down a little bit, you can always come back and make sure that it's packed in. One trick that my mentor always taught me, that at the end of a space when you think that you fully saturated, spray it with some water or some green soap, and if you see little gaps or little holidays, just make sure you go back in, fill in that space. Alright, so let's get into this scumble shading technique. Personally, it's not a technique that I use a lot, but it's very similar to color packing. The only difference is you're making a color transition from dark to light with this one. I used to watch my mentor do it a lot. It's a pretty smooth technique if you know how to use it. So same thing, You're going to make sure you're getting that black in there, make sure it's nice and saturated, but you'll go in and start dipping your inks, so from your medium tones to your light tones, so you can create that transition. Alright, now let's move along to this dot shading. Now, dot shading is very simple in technique, but very easy to mess up. Same thing, you're making a transition from dark to light, but this time we're using dots. Now, the technique to making it very dark is the closer the dots, the darker the space. The more spread out the dots, the lighter the space. With this technique, you have to be very careful though. If you go too far down, then you'll see blowouts. So make sure that you're being a little aware of how far you're going with the needle in the skin. Now, this is for sure one of the more tedious techniques, but a little patience and solid execution, you'll get your desired result. Now, last but not least, pendulum shading. Now, the technique with this is sweeping back and forth motion. So it's kind of like how you start with whip shading, but you come back in reverse. So what it does is it smooths out whatever light spaces that you have in order to make it blend seamlessly. Now, this will take some time to get used to, but as you continue to tattoo, you'll see how it works and figure out if it's something that works easy for you. That about wraps it up for the pendulum shading. And like I stated, all these techniques would definitely take some time of getting used to. But I'm glad that we can get it done. I'm glad that we can get this out there so it can help you out further, enhance your craft, and make you more comfortable with shading. So until next time, we out.